You cannot bias the upper and lower lat during exercise.
She has made about 4 videos on this topic using the same studies which don't provide promising evidence in the first place.
Cannot bias the upper and lower lats. Cannot bias the upper and lower lat. Connected to the business dorsai cannot be biased. That cannot be biased.
But before we come to that, I'd like to clearly point out the misrepresentation of scientific evidence in her videos and the use of unnecessary medical jargon, which is not just unethical but also confuses people. Her videos literally have a readability of 16, which means that only 1% of the population can actually understand what she's saying.
The upper and lower latissimus dorsi don't cross two joints. As a result, this muscle cannot be biased in this particular way.
Now that's not true. The lats not just cross and act on the shoulder joint, but also form moment arms at the sternoclavicular and the scapulothoracic joints. Different fibers of the lats have different internal moment arms or different leverages on these joints, which can affect their use in certain movements like scapular depression. For example, the lower iliac fibers of the latissimus dorsi have greater internal moment arm as compared to the upper fibers or the thoracolumbar fibers. This gives them more leverage to cause scapular depression as compared to the upper fibers.
With current evidence that has found non-statistically significant differences between the recruitment of the upper and lower lat during different back exercises as measured by EMG amplitude.
Now, EMG studies don't directly measure active mechanical tension. Instead, they measure electrical signals, which can be pretty inaccurate. But because we don't have hypertrophy data on this topic, let's consider these EMG studies for a second. The EMG studies she has used here are using internal rotation exercises with 1 kg dumbbell, which is clearly not relevant and can't translate to actual resistance exercises. Another EMG study she used in her videos where she claimed that this study measured activation of different segments of the lats through their entire movement.
Throughout the entire movement of either shoulder adduction, abduction,
when in reality, this study is actually comparing isometric activation, which means there is no movement of the lat fibers at all. This study quite literally measured activity of the lats in a brace at a position where leverages for extension and abduction are also pretty similar. How convenient. Now, if you're considering isometric EMG studies to be valid, let's look at this Japanese study from 2023. This study used slightly more relevant exercises which showed that different fibers of the lats show different activation and different movements. Now, all arguments apart, how does this translate to actual training? Just because different fibers of the lats can be biased depending upon the line of pull, doesn't mean that we need to perform different variations of the pull down to train the upper and lower lats. What would be a better alternative to training your lats? Forming different movements of the shoulders like abduction, extension, and medial rotation through a vertical motion like a pull down combined with a horizontal motion like a row. This will automatically take care of overall lat growth.